Alright, review of the week time from London, from a hotel in Westminster, which I've turned every single light on in here and this is as bright as I can get it. You know, Novotels are great value for money. Well, they're not really, they're quite expensive. They're a lovely hotel, but they're not great for filming because this is as bright as I can get it without opening a window. And the street outside will let a lot of noise in and stuff like that. So, enough about that. That's miscellaneous stuff. We got to talk about boxing, all right? We got to talk about the fights that happened over the course of the weekend. We got to talk about some of the news that's been happening in boxing. The main talking point has to be, of course, the card that happened in the OVO last night. It was Zhang versus Joyce 2. Repeat or revenge? It was revenge, obviously, and it was revenge devastatingly in double quick time. Half the time it took Zhang in the first fight, and this time it was a clean knockout. It was a clean KO. It wasn't stopped on an eye injury. Joyce he really looked the shell of himself in there. That's funny because we got kind of a false dawn in the first round is the best way you could describe it, because Joyce came out in the first round. He was popping the jab, he was moving, he was keeping it at range. He wasn't really landing anything, but nor was Zhang, you know. And Joyce, from a technical aspect, was making the right moves. You know, he was moving to the left instead of the right. So I looked at that first round and I thought, okay, this might not be a war. This might not be the most compelling viewing fight, but in terms of Joyce, he's doing basically what he needs to do. And then obviously he gets caught in the second round, and that was it. It was like those demons just came instantly straight back into his head. He seemed to just fall apart pretty much, physically and mentally. After getting hit with that left hand, it was like all those demons. You could argue maybe that it came around too quick, the rematch, that Joyce needed to maybe take the rematch but have an interim fight. Maybe that might have helped. I don't know. At least try out how you feel with the weight, get rid of a couple of those demons. He went straight back in. Bad decision. Zhang, though, not to take anything away from him, it was a fantastic display. You know, Zhang, I was first made aware of him years ago. He was with Top Rank, right? He was with Top Rank, and this was at a time when Top Rank were doing a lot of shows in China. We're doing them in Macau, okay? And obviously Zhang was signed, and he didn't do anything. I don't think he didn't do anything. He just didn't look anything spectacular. He just looked like a really big, cumbersome, hard-hitting heavyweight, and there's loads of them. There was nothing that really jumped out at you about him in terms of talent, anything. And the Jerry Forrest fight, I wasn't impressed with him in that fight. He looked good early on. He dropped Forrest in every one of the first 3 rounds. And then he just faded. Now, subsequently, he said there was an issue. I believe it was something to do with his kidneys, I think. Or something to do with that, dehydration, kidneys, something like that. Which, judging by how he's looked since then, you would say that probably was legit. Because it was very dramatic how he just faltered in that Jerry Forrest fight. And he was lucky to get away with I think it was a draw, wasn't it? He was lucky with that. And then he has the Hrgovic fight, and then based off that performance, now I know he had a fight in the interim where he looked good. He had a first round knockout, and I believe that guy hadn't been stopped before, and Zhang laid him out. Going into the Hrgovic fight, I was thinking Hrgovic has looked good. People are just anything but Hrgovic. You know, you have Joseph Parker, Michael Hunter, etc. We're like, no, we're not going down that road. Zhang takes it, and I wasn't expecting much. I was expecting a fairly run of the mill Hrgovic win. Many of you will know. And we got the polar opposite. Zhang looked fantastic. Hrgovic looked awful. He really did. And ironically, he looked better in the Zhang fight than he did in his last fight against MC McKeon, which is, that's a real worry for Filip Hrgovic. And you could argue, certainly, that Zhang should have got the nod. There's a lot of people out there who feel that, no, he should be IBF mandatory right this minute in time. He was the rightful winner. He does very good. His stock rises from that result. And then you have Joyce, who, you know, I was thinking, okay, look, he looked good. It's dangerous going in with Joyce. And then Zhang showed everything that he has in his arsenal. And I guess with Joyce, you could say it's just a bad style as well. Like, doesn't matter what Joyce does, the style that Zhang has, it's just Joyce is not going to be able to get around that. You know, Joyce could prove me wrong. He's talked about coming back. I don't know if that's a good idea. But Joyce could prove me wrong, and he could go and beat guys better than you could put him in there with Hrgovic, and he can go and beat Hrgovic, and you could say, well, just where'd that come from? It just could be a style thing, you know. But in the last couple of years, Zhang has really come to life, which is weird because he's 40 years old. It really does show that the heavyweight division, age is a factor, but it's nowhere near as big a factor in the heavyweight division as it is in other divisions. I mean, at the end of the day, Hatman was saying this in one of his Patreon videos, that if you look at the top, I think 25 rankings of the heavyweight on BoxRec, Dubois is the only guy in the top 25 on BoxRec who's in his 20s. Everyone else is in their 30s. You know, the heavyweights, they do mature late. They do come into their probably peak, probably in their early to mid 30s. Whereas, you know, when you look at all the other divisions, you know, you won't see someone really, you won't see a Zhang, so to speak, where they're 40 years old now and they're looking better than they ever had. They're probably making the most money. You don't see that in like welterweight. If you're 40 and you're putting out, you'd be like, what happened? Where were you? Were you in jail or something during your 20s? Because God knows what you could have been in your 20s. So that's Zhilei Zhang, and credit to him. You know, tremendous puncher, can punch with both hands, massive right hook. I mean, that right hook there, if that had landed on a Joshua, on a Wilder, on a Dillian White, good Lord, they would be still asleep right now. So great punch from Zhilei Zhang. We'll talk more about him in a wee bit. We'll talk through the card. I seen Pierce O'Leary versus Kane Gardner. Good performance from Pierce O'Leary. Workman-like performance. Gardner had his moments in there, but Pierce O'Leary did what he needed to do. I seen Zach Parker as well. I think that was on the YouTube part of Queensbury. How the Mighty Have Fallen, main event in the O2, at empty O2. Last fight to fighting on YouTube now, on the undercard. But anyhow, Zach Parker mentioned Anthony Yarde. I would say that is probably the fight Frank Warren will look to make. Would you do it at the O2, Wembley, or the Copper Box? Probably the Copper Box, to be honest with you. Yarde versus Parker, because I understand Parker does not belong at 175 at all. No, but he's saying it, and he mentioned Yarde. Yarde fought Jorge Silva, completely pointless fight. I don't understand why. You know, if you can't, Ricky Summers pulled out. If you couldn't get a decent opponent, just don't, because I'm just bored. I'm just bored of Yarde. Yarde has fought for 2 world titles, and straight away it's not even that he's gone down. He's just gone back to what he was doing before. Because after Kovalev, the fight he had was over in Barcelona against the middleweight, a career middleweight, and I think that middleweight lost to, I can't remember who he lost to recently, but not anyone decent. And now he's done this. Now I know you could say Ricky Summers was I get that, but still, really. So Yarde against Parker, I reckon Yarde would win, probably win it by stoppage. And Frank Warren, they're both Queensbury fighters, so Frank Warren would happily do that. I mean, they both, neither guy took any real damage in this fight, so I don't see why you couldn't do that on a show in London on TNT, December, January. I don't see why you couldn't do that. You probably do it in November, realistically, because I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that. So there was that. Moses Atelma versus Amin Benusiat. I'm butchering these names, but anyway, Atelma looked phenomenal. He looked fantastic. That guy's only been stopped once. Moses Atelma got rid of him in a round. He spoke about wanting to just get the knockout. He's gone the distance twice. He was happy to get the rounds in, but now he wants the knockout. And honestly, the kid's hand speed, there's a lot to like about Atelma. But when I saw him open up that combination that ended the fight, that hand speed, he's 6'5", bear in mind, was absolutely insane. He really has some very quick hands. This is a precocious talent, lads. This is a very, very, very precocious talent in Moses Atelma. Francis Warren is managing him. Actually, I didn't get a chance to interview Moses at the press conference, but I did speak to him straight away, recognised me, shook the hand. He's a really, really nice kid. A really, really nice kid. Francis Warren is managing him. And look, the Mike Tyson thing, I like the fact that he's talking about that and he's setting that as a goal. I like that. A part of me kind of is like, I'd like to see it because records are meant to be broken. And who doesn't want to see records get broken? I, for one, do. I like seeing records get broken, especially when it's something that you don't think can be broken. At the same time, you're like, does he really need to? He's 18. He's talented. Frank Warren, the Warrens will have learned from Dubois and Yarde, you know, just before they're ready, jump the gun, and then you're kind of like, what do I do now? It's a catch-22, because I think Atelma has the talent to do a lot in the sport of boxing, an awful lot, and, you know, he's only 18. In 10 years, he'll be 28. That's still nothing for a heavyweight. That's still a baby for a heavyweight. That's crazy to think how much time we have to improve this fighter and how good he's looking already. Tremendous young talent, this young Moses. Really is. In terms of the matchroom card that was over in Florida, Richardson Hutchins beat Jose Zepeda. He's a good fighter, Jose Zepeda, but he was completely outdone. Hitchinson, I should say, did the job. Hitchings did the job. I just say that name and I just read it too quick. Hitchens did the job. That was a good performance. Emma Williams got a win over Steve Rolls. Still no word on him against Felix Cash. There's not even any word on Felix Cash. God knows what he's doing. So there's that. Jessica McCaskill, Sandy Ryan draw. Now, I haven't seen this fight, but a lot of controversy around this fight. A lot of people are saying that this is a genuine case of a fighter was robbed. A lot of people saying Sandy Ryan easily won this fight. No one could even make a case for Jessica McCaskill winning the fight. One judge gave it to her and the other judge gave it a draw. Oh, that doesn't. And I think the judge who did give it to, it doesn't have the scorecards posted here, but I think Jessica McCaskill got a higher score on her winning scorecard than Sandy Ryan did on hers. I think that was happened, but oh boy, yeah. And Sandy Ryan is definitely the matchroom fighter. McCaskill, I think which one he is still, but Sandy Ryan is the up and comer. So yeah, that's great judging again. Now, Conor Benn, Rodolfo Orco. I'm butchering these names. Apologies. I know people get triggered over it, but I'm butchering them. So Conor Benn went the distance. One judge had this close. He had it 96-94. Yeah, look, Rodolfo was tough, very tough. As I said, he hadn't been stopped. So if you're fighting, I know you're never fought out of Mexico, which is not always a good indication that you're good, because if you are, they're looking to get you to America. But normally they're tough. He hadn't been stopped in any of his losses. He'd been the distance. And I thought, okay, look, Conor Benn Conor Benn is a decent puncher, but I think with Conor Benn it's the speed more so. It's the speed and suddenness of his shots that really are what gets him the knockouts. They say if the punches that you don't see coming are the ones that hurt the most, and I think that's more so. I don't think Conor Benn is necessary. Look, since the very get-go I've watched Conor Benn. He's turned over, and he's got okay power from my eye. From my eye, his power is okay, but it's not like Boots Ennis type power or anything like that. It's nothing even on the level of that. I wouldn't say that. I would say that his speed and the way he's sudden with his shots are good. In this fight, he was loading up a lot. Like, he won the fight, don't get me wrong. Wasn't a great performance. I mean, you would probably attribute that to some of the inactivity. I know some people are going to say, was there any testing for this fight? Maybe if there was, maybe that's why we didn't see Conor Benn looking the best. Who knows? At the end of the day, should he have been in the ring? No, I don't think he should have. I think that it definitely left a bad taste in people's mouths. I think that Adam Cattrall summed it up best, where he said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. There's talk about him versus Eubank Jr., which we'll talk about now in a wee bit, but they were the two main cards over the course of the weekend. Let's go on to Twitter and see some of the news, because it's going to be talk about Zhang, which we're going to kind of go back onto now in a sec. So Eddie Hearn on IFL interview said he welcomed the possibility of Joshua versus Zhang in China following Zhang's KO win over Joyce. AJ always fancied that fight. He beat him in the amateurs. Yeah, of course we can do it in China. Money talks. Money does talk. I'm sure the Chinese will pay an awful lot of money for that fight. I'd love to know how big a star Zhang is over there. Some people have said he's very big over there in China. Zhang in 2018 or 2019 signed the matchroom, didn't he? For a couple of fights. And there was talk of Zhang as an opponent for AJ. Looking back in hindsight, how would that have actually gone? See, looking back in hindsight, how would that have gone? This AJ now versus this version of Zhang. I know Zhang is slow, but I wouldn't. If I was looking at the Deontay Wilder fight, which Frank Smith kind of confirmed is not going to happen next, so it's likely they're both going to have interim fights, I wouldn't be putting him near Zhang if I was Eddie Hearn or Frank Smith. I know he's saying it for the camp, but I wouldn't be putting him near Zhilei Zhang right this minute. Hell to the no. I think Zhilei Zhang could knock Joshua out mid-rounds. The thing again is Joshua will be looking for the left hand, but he does have to worry about the right hook. And that right hook that hit Joyce, that hit Joshua, I mean, he's still sleeping now, if that's the case. Eddie Hearn also confirmed that they're going to try and do Eubank versus Benn for December 23rd, just before Christmas, following his win. He says, I don't think Eubank could stand up to those shots. He got stopped by Liam Smith with a lot less ferocity than Conor Benn. Liam Smith's a good puncher though. Liam Smith is a good puncher. That's one thing about Liam Smith. He's always had decent punching power, and I would say pound for pound, he is a harder puncher than Conor Benn. He definitely is. And as well as that, you got to factor in how drained Eubank Jr. was as well. You know, Liam Smith never caught Chris Eubank Jr. in the rematch. Eubank Jr. was very, very good defensively. He did all the right moves. But I maintain that Eubank could not have been himself at all following on from that weight cut he did for Conor Benn, having such a quick turnaround back into camp, weight cut again. No way he was firing on 100%. No flipping way. Do I think he'd take Conor Benn's shots? Yeah, I think he will. I think he'd take them. How would Conor Benn take Eubank shots? Therein is the question. Because Conor Benn, I mean, you would say his opponent last night is the biggest puncher he's ever been in the ring in with, in terms of certainly knockout ratio. But Eubank at 160, that could get real ugly. That can get real ugly for Conor Benn. See what else. Oh, I seen this. Eddie Hearn said on IFL that there's a rumour mill going that Showtime could be pulling out of boxing except for pay-per-views at the end of this year. He says, I've heard from numerous sources this week, and he is obviously in the know. So he's not just saying this, just I would assume for just clicks or anything like that. He's obviously in the know. He says, but Twitter's full of numerous rumours and something, but I've heard from 3 or 4 newsworthy sources. Interesting. Showtime pulling out of boxing. Oh, wow. You know, HBO and Showtime were the gold standard for me. You know, the go-tos. You know, even when, you know, Sky and all that doing the international shows, I would always try and get a HBO or Showtime stream because I just love listening to them broadcast. And Showtime have been around for a long, long time. HBO left 5 years ago, and I miss that. I miss HBO desperately because they were brilliant. You know, HBO were fantastic. They really were. Miss HBO. When HBO left boxing, there was talk that they would do once-off pay-per-views and stuff like that. There was talk about that, but that never obviously came to fruition. I'd hate to see Showtime go out like HBO, just gone for boxing, because I think Showtime are fantastic. They are. They just, the broadcasting, I love Showtime. I hope they don't. I hope that is a rumour. Let's see. What else do we have? Frank Sanchez versus Scott Alexander added to the Canelo card. Look, I'm happy to see Frank Sanchez back out. I like Frank Sanchez, but he needs to step his game up. He does. He wants a shot at a world title. I think the problem is he's had that good win against F.A. Jagba, and then he's not followed on from that, and people forget. They do. And I think that maybe as well as that, as a lot of people don't want to fight Frank Sanchez, because he is a proper dark horse. That guy is flipping talented. And that guy is... Tell you what, right? If they made Frank Sanchez versus Zhang next, I've got Frank Sanchez in that fight. Definitely. I'd confidently pick him to win that fight on points. The WBC have made WBC Super Middleweight World Champion Savannah Marshall champion in recess, as she's been ruled out with an injury. And you can't do that to Charlo? Seriously. Like, alright. Just... WBC. It's never ending with you guys. It really isn't. It never ends with the WBC. It's always something with these guys. So, Savannah Marshall suffers an injury. She only won the title, a couple of months ago? Less, right? Suffers an injury, and straight away champion in recess, right? Okay, fine. Charlo hasn't fought in over 2 years. Doesn't look like he's going to be fighting anytime soon. Oh, but that's different. How is it different? You know, he's saying he's got, mental health issues and stuff like that, and Savannah Marshall has an injury. Okay, but he's still not fighting though. Strip him, for God's sake. I know you won't, of course. And of course with Fury, why should we call him mandatory? Because that's how it works. You're a sanctioning body. Fighters pay you sanction fees to get ranked so they can get the opportunity to fight as a mandatory challenger. You remember it for certain fighters, but not for others. Brilliant. Zhang also called out Tyson Fury after KOing Joyce, he said, "Do you want to see me shut Tyson Fury up?" Now that's the interesting thing. So Frank Warren on the mandatory situation, because obviously Zhang is now WBO interim champion, he's mandatory for Alexander Usyk. Looks like that won't be called till sometime next year. So it's not like we're going to have to instantly be thinking, okay, is he going to vacate? Is it? No, it'll be next year at some point. So there is time to make undisputed. However, if the Fury Usyk fight falls through again, which I hope it doesn't, but with Tyson Fury's track history, I have no reason to doubt that it will. Zhang for Fury, I mean, like, I want Usyk, obviously, but that's a good fight in of itself. You know, Fury against someone like Zhang, you would imagine that Fury at his best would box rings around Zhang, and I think he probably would. This Fury is not as quick. Certainly doesn't appear to, well, judging by how he looked at the press conference for Ngannou, definitely not in the best of shape. Rumours of injuries and stuff. Has he slowed down? If he's a more stationary target and he walks on, now Fury to his credit, and I mean Fury, this guy is made in terms of his makeup of some absolute rock hard stuff. Because you could say like, oh well, if Zhang catches him, Wilder caught him in that third fight with one of the best right hands he could have caught Fury with, where to the point his whole body shook. You could see it when it landed, his whole body, the flesh on him shook. And yeah, he went down, but literally back up. And you're like, it's not possible for a human being to recover like that. It's just not, but Fury can. So, does Zhang have the power to hurt Fury? Hell yeah, he does. But all of Fury's flaws, you need to nail this guy to the canvas to keep him down. You literally need to nail this guy. Get sellotape, nail him down. That's the only way you're keeping Fury down. He is made of some tough stuff in terms of his ability. Well, recovery ability is phenomenal. You know, certainly Joshua doesn't have that. You know, in terms of punch resistance, I would say they're probably about even Steven. Maybe Fury takes a slightly better shot, but Fury recovers a hell of a lot better than Joshua does. Much better. In terms of everything else, I don't want this. I know I like review of the week being a little bit over 20 minutes. I don't know if this is or not, but the Wi-Fi in here is really bad. Like, Novotels are nice. They're very nice. The Wi-Fi is not the best, though. It's not the best. That's why the post-fight review was only like 7 minutes yesterday. Because I just thought, like, how long is that going to take to upload? So I was cognizant of that, and I was like, get it done quickly. Just get as much in. I think I did pretty well. I got some good reviews. I got over 600 likes, so I've done well. Maybe short videos are the way to go. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section anyway. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. I'll show you these once again. The zone payroll confirmed, yeah? For anyone wondering. No, not literally, obviously. I'm joking. No, they're boxing gloves, by the way. Just know that. Yeah, they're boxing gloves. The zone boxing gloves. They gave them to me as a gift. I appreciate that. They look good, don't they? I do like boxing gloves. I can't imagine they're going to be the best, but there's something to hang. There's something to have in the house. So there you go. I'll leave it there, people. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. I'll chat to you. Peace.